Back in April of last year, 2024, we had Nikolai Khylstov, who is the lead space technology at the World Economic Forum, to talk to us about the potential of the space economy. Let's take a look back on Flashback Friday, if you will, to that interview.
So there are several key triggers for this. One of them, of course, is the changing cost for launch. It has fallen significantly over the last couple of decades, even more so over the last 10 years. And we foresee that this cost will continue to fall. Now, of course, SpaceX plays an important role here, and it will be interesting to see what happens with Starship flights in the coming months. Connectivity is another big important cost factor here, and we foresee that to further fall by another 10% in the coming years, perhaps arguably not as significant as the cost in launch. The other element is, of course, commercial innovation. When you look at what Earth observation satellites can see, and this is an important component of the economy, you can get down to almost 15 centimeters in terms of resolution. That can give you even more in terms of insights and help industry on Earth. Diversification of investment. So where is the money coming from? This is another big part of the story. It's not just venture funds and early stage investment. You largely have more and more corporate investors coming in, as well as institutional investors, as well as national players coming in, and more interest in space from different geographies at the national agency level. So, and finally, the other important element I think that's playing here is cultural awareness. So, public's image and perception of space activities, as you've seen just now with the great footage of the eclipse, or science missions and things like James Webb. The public is really following space activities closely. There are missions to the moon almost monthly these days, and so there's a lot of excitement, and that's helping generate and stimulate further activity and growth.
Thank you so much for the breakdown. You have to forgive me for going to pop culture. Now, I've got to remind our viewers about this, about a very famous animated film. I think it's one of the most successful animated films in history. But it was prompted by a quote from the report. In the report, it says essentially that the opportunities in space actually go beyond, right? Space impact will increasingly go beyond space itself. Yeah, that's the quote. So space impact will increasingly go beyond space itself. It reminded me, and I'm going to have to get our viewers to remind themselves of Toy Story and the character Buzz Lightyear, where he says to infinity and beyond. Let's take a quick look.
To infinity and beyond!
I had to do it. I'm sorry. But here's the thing. Your quote is not referring to beyond space. It's actually talking about planet Earth. Essentially, that supply chains, I think we have the list, food and beverage, state-sponsored defense, and digital communications. That's the beyond that you were referring to. Can you talk us through how those entities can benefit from this space economy that you're discussing in the report?
Absolutely, and great clip there. Indeed, we are talking about what space is doing for us here on Earth, and it's happening every day today. It's just that when we look at the next 10 years, the next decade, these numbers will change significantly. And in many of these cases, in many of these examples, the economic figures will double, triple, or even quadruple in some instances. Now, what is it based on? It's based on satellite data and services. So we're talking primarily about positioning, navigation, and timing. So this is a big one, actually, in these estimates when you look at 1.8 trillion. What does it enable? Well, it directly enables things like ride sharing or food delivery across a couple of these sectors. Without global positioning satellites, these businesses would just not exist in the way that they do today, and they are set to grow significantly over the coming decades. Of course, there are more industrial applications in supply chains. The other one is connectivity. We have increasing number of satellites providing connectivity from different companies on Earth, and this is going to increase and provide even greater insights and be able to connect businesses from all sorts of locations. It's not just about having access to internet on a plane. It's being able to put a connectivity station and a receiver in a remote location where perhaps you're not able to connect with a landline or a cell tower. And the other one is Earth observation. And again, as I mentioned before, these satellites are getting better at seeing more on the ground, and this can really enable and provide services to a large number of industries on the ground. So those are the key aspects that will drive these numbers. It's not about satellites per se and rocket launches. Of course, those subsectors will increase, but it's really about what they do for different industries on Earth and how they enable better and greater economic growth.
Great stuff. And I also want to get to, and I know you touched on this, the four main drivers of the prevalence of space in everyday life. You've mentioned the rocket launches, but particularly, I think number 4 on the list, or rather number 1, 2, 3, number 4, the cultural awareness and enthusiasm. The reactions to the eclipse, the solar eclipse, is that an example? Because it was treated as a main event, at least all media houses around the world. We covered it as well here. Is that also critical to this space economy as far as cultural awareness and enthusiasm from everyday people is concerned?
Look, I think you're absolutely right. There are different facets of space activities. A lot of that, of course, is scientific, and I think the solar the eclipse comes into that. But it is appreciation of what's happening in space. How the sun works, how the moon rotates around the Earth, of course. So that's the scientific angle. I think that's part of the big story. When we look at what James Webb has been able to achieve, the types of images it's been able to provide, almost since being launched right away, is absolutely fascinating. Being able to see our planet Earth from space is part of it. This is thanks to satellites orbiting Earth with different types of cameras, different types of radars. And we're able to see our planet and how fragile it is, of course, as well. Rocket launchers make the news as well on a weekly, monthly basis. Landings on the moon, different countries have had successful or semi-successful landings in the recent months. So this altogether plays, I think, in the public psyche and how people perceive space activity. So there are several key triggers for this. One of them, of course, is the changing